saw this quote the other day, and it went something like this. We are taught to not talk about subjects, topics, conversations like politics or subjects that are taboo. Instead, we should have been taught how to talk about them. We should have been taught how to be centered in ourselves enough that we can meet a viewpoint that is opposing or that feels opposing in the moment. And then through actual open heart, open mind process, try and figure each other out. But we are not taught that. We witness and we see arguments that escalate, the need to establish some type of dominance, often intellectual. To me, in many ways, it feels like, it was like a gladiator pit, but now we can't, it's not, socially appropriate to like punch each other or like be in sword fights. And so we sort of do it intellectually. We throw punches at each other emotionally and intellectually. We sharpen our swords and our wits that next time I'm going to have that conversation with that person about which political party is good or better. I'm going to come prepared with all my thesis statement and all of my other things. And it's curious, to be sure, because it's like the whole meaning and the essence and the spirit of discussion, debate, symposium was somehow lost. Instead of being about, here I am with my life experiences, and these are my thoughts and experiences, and here you are with this very different life experience. How do we merge? How do we, maybe the goal isn't merging, but how do we coexist? When we walk into a forest or a really beautiful garden, one of the reasons it feels very calming and relaxing to most people, it is certainly because of, plants and the ecosystem and all of that. But there is diversity in these environments. There are millions of life forms, plant and animal, in forests. And perhaps there's maybe hundreds in an average garden, even if it's your backyard garden with different flowers and plants. And it's this beautiful space of all the flowers in the garden are welcome, are open, they are accepted in the soil of oneness. They all interweave and connect. Maybe some thrive, maybe some don't, but the garden is often beautiful to us because they all exist. And we have not been trained socially or otherwise. And, perhaps maybe media encourages a bit of a battle because that sells news more than harmony and the kumbaya vibes. And again, the goal is not to sort of, golden wash everything with this like lovely spiritual lens of oneness. But I think why and how we share, how we show up in community, how we show up even in family or discussion or in the workplaces, it's almost like we weren't taught something, like we missed something really big, because then we get into these crazy arguments and then it becomes about how that person is an idiot, or I feel like an idiot, or I feel really shut down. And it's like, why were we speaking? Why did this conversation happen? And so we're all familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where, at the bottom we have food, shelter, security, and the need to feel safe. And right at the top, we have self-actualization, right? And it's interesting because Maslow spent time with the Blackfoot First Nation, which is a First Nation, I believe, predominantly in the United States. And like most Indigenous wisdom, their worldview is very different. And I think it's so ancient and profound that it's almost, too forward for even our time right now. Maybe not, it's certainly making a comeback, but their worldview is very different. In this context, for them, what sits at the bottom is actually self-actualization. Once an individual is self-actualized, they know themselves, they know their place in the world, in the community, in the universe, then you have these other things that can occur from that place of knowing who you are and being anchored in your knowing, so that you are free, open, flexible enough to meet a viewpoint different from yours, perhaps, and not fall over in like a fit of rage or a fit of tears or a fit of really anything. Because you know who you are in reference to the universe, in reference to your community, in reference to your world, and you behold that same knowing in another. And so it's an interesting flip with, you know, when we often seek like-minded communities and things like that. When I was seeking it, and this might not be everyone's truth, but for me, when I was seeking like-minded communities, it's because I could not hold a conversation with someone who with a different viewpoint than me without feeling completely blown off center. It's why I wanted to have conversations with people who are thinking the same things I was thinking. And there's a definite beauty and a awesome sense of connection and community with that. But it does not mean that you kind of just hide here because you're avoiding this other thing, which was the case for me. And so when you step out, when you are explaining or expressing something that is new, maybe it's new and edgy for you, or maybe it's just so mundane for you, but it's new and edgy for another person, how we communicate it without overly trying to convince them, without, you know, feeling threatened by their perception, their scenario, their circumstance, that is a thing we are all learning. And I am just starting to realize how much I am just starting to learn all this is, because on one hand, you know, we think of this tree analogy, right? Like I know who I am. I have strong roots into the ground. And then, you know, my heart and my branches and my mind, they're open and they spread out. And then we can intermingle, we can have fun, we can be friends, we can agree, we can disagree, care, don't care, it's all good. And that's sort of on one hand, like that's kind of the goal. But then sometimes things happen and that really makes us question something within, and it feels like someone is uprooting us. And that's very uncomfortable, to feel uprooted from your core beliefs. But this was sort of, I heard this when I was praying and meditating about this. Instead of feeling uprooted, and it might feel like that emotionally or in the moment, but really to me, it's about reconciling what is within with what is outside, reconciling who I was with who I am and maybe who I am becoming, reconciling my ideas, values, beliefs with yours, because we already coexist. You and I already breathe the same air. We are, you know, connected by the web of love and light and life and all of this stuff. So really, we are already coexisting. It's just, I didn't know these were your viewpoints. And now I do. And you didn't know these were mine. And so now our coexisting moves from the unconscious to the conscious realm. Now, if I was already coexisting with you and you had a whole set of beliefs that I cannot even, why would I fight that? The need to fight it comes from what? Insecurity, panic, right, wrong, something like that. And again, if someone says something and their thought or opinion is so viscerally wrong, that's fine. That's okay. It is so okay to not agree. It is so okay. And we're sort of taught that, no, we have to always agree. And then if we can't, then, you know, oh my God, but like, why? And I'm not entirely sure that we all need to agree on every single thing. We are meant to, we are diverse, unique beings. We are meant to have different experiences of the same thing. If you and I go to a movie and I love it and you hate it, that is awesome, because you hate it for your set of reasons and I love it for mine. Why are we in this place in our minds where that's somehow not okay? And we have to kind of, you know, convince each other why the movie was good and why the movie was bad. And think about how often we do that with restaurants, with types of food, with types of experiences, with our truth. So this is a really big thing around figuring out acceptance of self, authenticity of self, because sometimes we also repeat things that we hear and we don't take the time to figure out, is this actually us? Or am I just being someone else's extended mouthpiece? And it takes some time. It takes some getting to know the self. It takes a lot of getting comfortable in who we are truthfully, and then expressing from that place. It takes time to know who you are, to actualize within, so that when you step out and show up in community, you actually bring your fullness, your light, your truth, your radiance. And that is a beautiful, fragrant glory to behold. So that's the invitation today, as we all are learning to self-actualize in different ways, on different levels and different layers, and bringing a lot of our diverse thoughts, perspectives, and experiences to the forefront, to the consciousness, so that they can be celebrated in the soil of unity and oneness. And that soil is that human collective. Have a great day.